Life's a journey, and every now and again you meet people who've made a remarkable journey, and this guy, I think, is exactly that. His name is Billy Schwer, and he used to make his living out of causing as much pain and destruction to his opponents on his way to getting a world championship title. However, he's now, if you like, gone on a completely different mission, trying to make the world of business a better place, and also helping individuals become a lot happier in their lives. You're going to find some fascinating insights into what that life journey of Billy Schwer has been and where he's going and where he can take you in the future. Welcome to this special edition of Make It Happen, and this is where we meet the people who are changing lives and helping businesses grow and investments prosper. We have Billy Schwer, former boxing professional from Luton, Bedfordshire, who for the majority of your career you fought in the lightweight division, competed in the light welterweight division, and we have your IBO World Light Welterweight Championship title belt right with us here today.
That's the very one.
So when we spoke on the phone, though, you said you'd gone through quite a transition over the last few years, and you said you are a lover, not a fighter.
Indeed. That's like a past life somewhere, many moons ago.
So enlighten everybody about how you made a move from what is a very powerful and brutal sport into something which is making a difference to people's lives.
It is. So boxing is a beautiful, brutal business and a very dangerous one. And one that I used to step up into the ring, I'd be prepared to die. It's like that's how committed I was to become a world-class athlete and become a world champion. So when that's finished, then listen, you can't fight forever.
Okay.
At some point it's going to finish and it's going to end, and then that's when the real work begins. As we hear about a lot, ex-boxers, football people, rugby, any sporting person, the transition from being a professional athlete to life in the so-called real world is a very difficult one for us. And one that I kind of really struggled with. Made lots of mistakes, made some really bad choices, had a tough time, I had nothing to focus on. I just couldn't see a future for myself outside of the boxing ring. Because my whole life I've been Billy the boxer from a kid of 8. And here I am now, an adult, a man, at the age of 31, not really knowing who I really am.
Yeah.
So then that was the world that I embraced. And, the first 2 years of my retirement, the worst 2 years of my life, I struggled. And it is when I hit rock bottom, I went through depression, went through a divorce. I was on my way to becoming bankrupt. I eventually lost everything. I kind of lost everything that I'd fought for was now gone. And it was kind of, sometimes for some of us to wake up, we need a wake-up call, and I kind of got mine because I kind of realised that what I was doing and who I was being was no longer working for me. Billy the boxer just didn't work. And so then I just kind of reassessed my life, and after hitting the bottom, I thought I need to do something about it. So I kind of reached out and got myself a coach, really. And I started to really look into who I am. And I stripped myself bare, I took myself to pieces, just fascinated by why we do what we do. How do we end up the way we ended up? What's that about? What had me go in the ring prepared to die? Where'd that come from? And I kind of just dismantled myself and then started to put myself back to pieces. Put myself back to the pieces that I wanted to have. And it wasn't all about fighting and aggression, but that's an element that we feel that we have to succeed in professional boxing.
Okay. Now you've become, if you like, a professional in changing organisations, raising morale, altering people's perspectives so that they become success creators. That your CV and all of the acclaim that's following you is quite impressive. And it's come from hard study, because I noticed you've done things like studying NLP. We were having a chat about the work you're doing in terms of personal development that uses techniques like yoga. And, one of the guys I met recently is a very successful business guy, and he gave up his career in business, rather like you gave up the boxing business. But he created, if you like, a rescue service, and I know you do a little bit of that. But
Yeah.
he was taking people out to the Mediterranean on a yacht. They'd fallen off their perch, their ivory tower, crashed. Not quite maybe as brutal in life and death as a situation as you went through, but he was picking up the pieces and helping them mend and recover.
Brilliant.
But you surely know the secret of stopping people ever reaching that point by now. So is that something that you are able to offer in the way that you're operating?
Yeah. Well, I work with teams, as you know. So my thing's about how to get your team punching above their weight. So I'm all about performance. And it's mental performance. So that's the brand Mental Boxing. That's how that got created. So it's looking at and inquiring into being the best selves. Their best selves. And also I do one-on-one stuff, and I love that idea of his concept about taking people away from out of their environment and really look at dismantling themselves and giving them an access to who maybe they really are and what they want to do. So I do a similar thing. So my one-to-one coaching is very bespoke, it's tailor-made to the individual. So whatever they're dealing with, we can really get to work, dismantle it. If they're afraid of heights, so I'll get them to jump out of a plane or something. So anything, I want to confront and challenge people to be the best selves that they can be. Because in that process, it's just going to give them an access to a future that just they didn't know available. So when I go and work with companies and groups of people, what my intention is that they leave thinking and feeling differently about their future. I want them to get really connected to what it is that they want for themselves and their lives. And it's about, we look at themselves, their work or their business and their life, because they're all correlated, they're all connected. And it's about, if you can find a way to really just be fulfilled and satisfied and be happy in all of your areas, which is a challenge, but it's possible. I've done it. I've come from the depths of despair. I've come from depression, divorce. I've been through I've lost everything, and I've been on the floor. So I know that it's possible, and I've done the work. But it's not been an easy journey. But I sit here before you, happier, more fulfilled, and satisfied than I've ever been, ever. And it ain't about having something or achieving something. It's about that inner piece. So it's the inner work that we all need to do. And if any area of your life is not having you feel good, that's what we need to go to work on. But not as you know it.
Now, with the people that we often meet that are in business and investment, they have very high expectations, both of themselves and of people around them. And one of the guys I think I was mentioning to you that seems to be making great waves is Mo Gorda. Now his Solve Happy movement is very similar in many ways to what you're doing with the Man Up and the work to sort of get people to reappraise their lives. Now his theory is that happiness, there's an equation there that's to do with misalignment of your life against expectations. What lessons have you learned about people having false or impossible expectations and then driving themselves and people around them to an unhappy state?
That's a great pit. A lot of us, we have an unfulfilled expectation, which gets unfulfilled, so which causes us to be upset because it's unfulfilled. We haven't got where we want to get to or where we think we should be.
Or who we should be.
So then what people may do is they start to compare themselves to others.
Right.
And generally what they're doing is they're comparing themselves upwards. And then there's a gap, there's a missing, which they then may look at themselves that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. They might end up in that kind of conversation. So it's just getting really present to themselves and what they're up to and what they're doing and where they're going and what's the point and the reason why. I think the reason why we do a lot of things is really important. What's behind our behaviour, what's behind our actions, why are we doing what we're doing, what's the point?
And that's all down to motive, isn't it? So with people that you're dealing with, motive and motivation, what makes the difference to getting them into that motivated mood?
Yeah, it's like the point is about, you said it earlier about not going that far. Like I crashed, so you don't have to crash, but some of us, we need to crash. because we're not. If you're like me, a bit ignorant, a bit pig-headed, and a bit right, we need to crash. We need to get to the bottom before we can then rise up again. And it's easy to say, don't crash, but some of us are going to go there, and we're going to go there anyway, regardless of what I say. So our paths, our futures are mapped out for us anyway. So we're going to go on that path, and at some point, we're going to hit enough pain for them to make the change. Because it may take that, but if you was wise enough and just learn by other people's mistakes, learn by my mistake, you don't have to go where I went to and lose everything and hit the bottom. You don't have to do that. And it would be if you could be smart enough to then realise and reassess. But what I find is a lot of people. We talked about it this week in a session with a group of people. It was about flatlining. A lot of people are just flatlining, but they're kind of happy flatline, but they're not really. But they survive in the flatline, and they're comfortable there, but they're not really going in the directions they want to be. But they're surviving. They've got commitments. They're fearful of rocking the boat or making a change. It takes courage. Unless, like myself, I kind of finished boxing. It was kind of enforced upon me that I had to finish because you can't fight forever. But then the real fight starts. That's the real battle that I've been on. Is about that one, the personal challenge. And that's when mental boxing came together. I was in the midst of a depressive episode. I was like, I'm having a mental boxing match with that voice in my head.
With yourself?
With myself. I was in the thick of it, and I had that. I can remember really clearly. I was having that conversation with myself, and I kind of realised that I'm having a fight with myself. I'm having a mental boxing match with myself. And we all are, every day. Can I, can't I, shouldn't I? I'm not good enough, I don't fit in, I don't belong, I'm frightened, all of that's going on all the time. And it's once you then become aware of it, then you can start to really deal with it.
Okay. You mentioned a word there, and you know, I think it's key, frightened.
Yeah, fear.
Okay.
It's a big driver.
You can see people often, and I'm sure you meet them all the day in the job that you do now, that have all the ingredients of success, but there's a fear. There's a fear of change. They're in. And
most of the people that I'm working with, they're successful anyway.
Yeah.
And they're still fearful of change and fearful of what's really possible. Because a lot of those guys, they're successful, and they know that there's so much more within them.
Yeah.
And that's their what's that about?
Yeah.
That's the bit to really inquire into.
Yeah.
And take apart. And give them themselves.
Okay.
Because that's powerful if you can get that.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It really excites me for people. I'm excited for people.
It is. And, you know, I think the thing is that if you can remove that fear, the barriers drop, the potential's unleashed. Lots of techniques out there. What do you normally prescribe to people that are in business? They maybe have a new startup idea or a new division that they're launching. Stakes are high. They start to get stressed and worried about that. Is there a Billy Schwer technique that you teach to get the fear element under control? Or
I think it's good because we get caught up in our heads, and those guys, they got no one to speak to,
right?
Because they can't go internally because there's a bit of a concern about that.
I see. So
it's like, for what I do is I'm a sounding board, so they can say anything to me with no judgment. They got nothing to worry about. I'm their sounding board, and then I can give it back to them. And because of who I am and the stories that I share with them, my flaws, my weaknesses, all of that, then they feel completely free to just say what they want to say with no judgment attached. And then I could then feed it back to them. And then give them a different view on it, a different perspective, get them to see it from a different angle. Because as a boxing coach, you're sitting at ringside looking up at the fighter, you can see things that they can't see. And that's the same with this life coaching, performance coaching.
Yeah.
It's good to get another sounding board, somebody to see who can see it from a different perspective, with no fear attached to it.
Okay. One other thing that when we were having a pre-podcast chat that stood out was you have a fascination or focus now around people in midlife.
Yeah.
They're all living longer, and 40 or 50 is actually still you're still young. You're only halfway through your average
Absolutely.
lifespan now.
Yes.
Whereas our sort of great-grandparents were dead by the age of
Yeah.
40. So,
Yeah.
you know, but you get a lot of people that are lost. They have situations where things haven't turned out quite the way they have. And sadly, you see an awful lot of suicides,
Yeah.
even with people that are rich and successful.
Yeah.
So what are you up to right now that's going to make a difference to that segment of the working population?
Those people, I am one of them. So I've just turned 50. So that's a pivotal moment, right? It's a landmark. It's a landmark. It's
Yeah.
a big milestone.
Yeah.
But there is hope. I believe I'm just getting going.
Right.
I'm so clear the best is yet to come for me. I'm just getting going. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm just starting.
No, why I'm laughing is I was listening to the radio this morning. Leo Sayer, one of our old favourites
Yeah.
in the 1970s, is just launched a brand new
Oh,
album.
good for him.
And he's doing a tour. But he
Love
said,
it.
I'm just peaking. I'm 71.
That's it.
I'm just peaking.
There we go. And now we talked of a book earlier about the 100-year life,
Yeah.
which is, I would recommend people to look at that
Yeah.
because we're living longer.
Yeah.
Well, you might have 2 or 3 careers in your life.
Yeah.
You're going to be mixing with different age groups, all types of different situations and circumstances, which is going to give you different leases of life.
Okay. So you've just seen Tiger Woods pull it off.
There we go. Look at that.
Midlife.
Your midlife, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
How are you going to go and create more Tiger Woods situations? Because I'm sure with what I've heard about what you're doing and the program you have, and you know, the project you have with Man Up, that is going to be part of the way forward for people that are at the 50 plus.
Absolutely.
zone.
It's in that 30-60 zone.
So give us a few of the secrets that are in that book that, you know, will make a difference to people and get them fully enjoying.
So the book Man Up, right? So it's obviously Man Up,
Yeah.
the world champion way, and it's the point of the title is how do we be a man? What is that? What does that look like? And it's different these days. So for me to be a man now is to be vulnerable, have a willingness to share myself, to talk to people, my loved ones, people close to me, and share myself. That's one of the things is which is going to give us an access to a different future is having the courage to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Because as a fighter, we're conditioned and programmed not to show any emotions or feel anything because it's a sign of weakness. And I think a lot of men our age are of that same thinking. But then and I've discovered it for myself. I've done loads and loads of work in seminars and hearing men get up and share, and it moves people to have the ability to go and share yourself and create a team. I mean, don't go and share with everyone because not everyone's going to get it and not everyone's going to have your backing. And it's like another thing is who's in your corner, who's got your back. Teamwork, because without teamwork the dream don't work. So you've got to be careful who you're sharing with, because listen, it could end up being like Chinese whispers. Then you could get ridiculed and made wrong or something. But it's being mindful of who you're sharing yourself with, but that will give us guys an access to something, and you don't know what it is. Once you start sharing yourself differently and sharing what you're up to, what you're committed to in life, what you want in life, how you see your future, because you got, as a 50, 40, 50-year-old, you've got a long way to go yet. And it's like, what does that look like for you? And share that.
So I can see, because obviously I've never met Tiger Woods, but I can see when he hit rock bottom, he got in trouble with the police, divorce,
he's had all sorts of
etc.
stuff, yeah.
But he got really good help around him. So what you're doing here is you're orchestrating a program where people can be open, honest. Once you know the truth, you can do something about it.
And it's having integrity. Here's the thing that a Tiger Woods and I've done in my past, I haven't lived with integrity.
Yeah.
We're out of integrity, so that's going to get you, that's going to get you. So now, the reason why I'm happy and fulfilled and satisfied, because I don't have any out of integrities in my life. I'm really clear, it just doesn't work for me. And it has an impact on yourself and everyone around you. And it's being aware of the consequences of your actions, your behaviours. Now, as a younger man, I didn't have that. I didn't have the ability. I was just Billy the Boxer. I was a fighter. And that was the way that I was, and that's the way that I thought I had to be a success.
Yeah,
I didn't care. I didn't care about anyone else or anything. I'm going to fight, and that's all I knew how to be, which just don't work.
Did you feel you were sort of sucked into a machine where they were creating an illusion? You were becoming a product, and that you became something that.
I think it was a self-fulfilling thing, because you think, I'm going in the ring to cause bodily damage. Let's not get away from it. Boxing is brutal. You go in the ring to cause bodily damage, and that's the truth of it. And it's dangerous, and it's so to have that kind of mindset, you've got to be a certain way. You've got to be a bit cold. You've got to be able to park yourself to one side. You've got to be a bit emotionless. So then that's who you are every day, training for a fight. And then it kind of just bleeds out into every other area of your life, because unless you're trained or got some emotional intelligence, you don't know how to be any other way. Because if you're living that way 24/7, that's who you are. But that's not who you are. It's only until you get some emotional intelligence, you have a look and reflect, or you crash, you're going to start to reassess yourself and your life and go, well, okay, that don't work. That works in that arena, but it doesn't work in the arena of life, the most important one.
Yeah, and I think the parallels in business are that people can often just get driven and become very bullish. And
look at all the casualties we see, we hear about successful business people. There are a lot of divorces, bankruptcies, all sorts of stuff goes on. They fail. They're extraordinarily successful in this area, but fail like I did. And so what takes, at some point, it's going to stop. They'll lose everything and everyone around them, and then they have to rebuild. And that's what we hear. We hear it a lot. And that's what that guy's doing on the boat.
Okay. So, Man Up, it's coming out soon. How people, you're obviously going to get it out on Amazon?
It's out. It's on Amazon at the moment, but we're going to have a proper launch. There's going to be some other stuff available, which I'd really love for people to do. There's coaching programs.
Yeah.
We got the T-shirt, we got the caps, there's going to be a live Q&A opportunity, a signed copy of the book. So there's lots of exciting stuff coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to click my fingers, and the guys in post-production will magically drum up the www.billyschwer.com address.
Beautiful.
So that'll have all your events. Billy, it's been an absolute delight. I could carry on talking to you for forever.
And I know we've had a lot of conversations. So John, I just want to acknowledge you also for what you're up to, what you're doing. And thank you for the support that you're giving me, because it really means a lot. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all from us at Make It Happen. Myself and Billy are now going off to have a beer or two. No, well, not. No, he's very healthy. And
occasional beer.
Yeah, a cup of tea, I think, afterwards. And talk about the finer things in life.
Indeed.
But, that's all from us here at Investor News Networks. Bye for now.
Thank you.